Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 13th meeting of the SABR Elysian Fields chapter. I'm Donna Muscarella, chapter president. Our guest tonight is Lisa Doris Alexander. I met Lisa last summer in Cooperstown at the Jerry Malloy Negro League Conference, and it was at that event that she offered the presentation she'll share with us tonight. There will be time for questions, but I ask that you please wait until after Lisa's presentation is complete to offer those questions. I also want to let everybody know, because this was kind of a last minute, well, semi-last minute decision, that we're going to tack on to the end of tonight's event, Diamond Discourse Unbanned. And we're going to just share some thoughts about today's news about Rob Manfred wiping okay, here goes my brain, the permanently ineligible list clean. Yeah. Okay, so Dr. Alexander is a professor in the Department of African American Studies at Wayne State University. Her book, When Baseball Isn't White, Straight, and Male, The Media and Difference in the National Pastime, won SABR's Negro Leagues Committee's 2013 Robert Peterson Recognition Award. Lisa also penned Expanding the Black Film Canon, Race and Genre Across 6 Decades, and Homicide, Life on the Street, which is part of Wayne State University Press's TV Milestone series. She co-edited The Circus is in Town, Sport, Celebrity, and Spectacle, and in 2014 was honored with the John Coates Next Generation Award for her article, But They Don't Want to Play with the White Players, Right? Depictions of Segregation and Negro Leagues Baseball in Contemporary Popular Film. Lisa refuses to choose between Star Trek and Star Wars and is a fan of the Chicago White Sox, the Chicago Sky, and the Chicago Bulls. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, and thank you everyone for coming out tonight. I typically speak quickly, so I can't wait to hear your questions about this presentation as well as your thoughts about Bob Manfred's decision tonight. I do have some slides that have some video in them, and technology worked earlier, so I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that technology will continue to work. Share. All right. So, Black baseball isn't a topic that television series visit very often. When it's mentioned, it's usually brief with varying degrees of importance to the episode's plot or to the series' overall arc. Star Trek Deep Space Nine featured a captain who was a baseball fan and who also happened to be the franchise's first Black character to lead a series. Homestead Grays caps popped up from time to time, and one episode featured a hunt for a Willie Mays rookie card. The X-Files had a standalone episode focusing on a fictional Black barnstorming team with a Josh Gibson-like character who happened to be an extraterrestrial who fell in love with baseball in 1947. He assumes the form of a Black man to avoid calling attention to himself. 2016 saw the premiere of the series Pitch, which chronicled the first female player in Major League Baseball, and the pilot episode featured this exchange.
Real heroes. I'm a number 5 starter. I'm not the first woman. I'm not even the first Black woman to pitch professionally. But no one remembers Peanut Johnson. Everyone's celebrating me. I mean, my achievements are modest.
Your stats are modest. But make no mistake, getting to the majors is historic.
In 2022, HBO premiered the series Lovecraft Country, based on the book of the same name, which asked the question, which is the bigger threat to Black people in 1955? White supremacy or actual monsters? And ironically, the new movie Sinners asked the same question. The pilot episode of Lovecraft Country opened with this surreal sequence.
This is the story of a boy and his dream. But more than that, it is the story of an American boy in a dream that is truly American.
What's the matter? Where you going, black boy?
Black boy, we're the welcoming committee.
You'd better get out of here.
No, Jackie.
Go on, it just makes it tough for having you here.
The year 1928. The time, spring. If you were a young man, your thoughts were undoubtedly turning to those of love. But if you were a young boy, your thoughts were of one thing: baseball.
Got you, kid.
Whether he was battling real or fictional monsters, Jackie Robinson could do it all, couldn't he? It's that very brief backdrop that the Amazon series A League of Their Own fits into. When it was announced that Amazon was releasing a series based on Penny Marshall's 1992 film, the documentary of the same name, directed by Mary Wilson, and the actual experiences of players from the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, I was intrigued. When series creators Abby Jacobson and Will Graham stated that they engaged in a substantive research project before starting the writing process, my ears perked up. According to Graham, they looked at, quote, all of the managers, the chaperones, the players, the factories, Black women in baseball at the time, and industrial teams. We found these incredible anecdotes about Black women forming softball teams and baseball teams inside the factories in response to not being allowed to play on the newly formed female teams, unquote. A significant portion of the series follows Max Chapman, played by Detroit actress Shantae Adams, and her struggles to navigate the intersection of racism and sexism to realize her dream of playing baseball. In focusing on her story, the series also shines a light on Black baseball during the World War II era, and that's what I will focus on this evening. In Marshall's original film, the sum total of the discussion of race is narrowed down to a single moment where a Black woman in the stands throws the ball quite a distance into the glove of Gina Davis's character. The two exchange knowing looks that say to the audience that Black women should be playing in the league, but can't, thanks to white supremacy. The series paid homage to Marshall films as we see Max try out for the league.
Uh-oh, you think he's bringing us a pie?
Yeah, I don't see a pie.
Gals get lost on the way to the south side.
We're here for the tryouts.
But that's very chivalrous of you to worry about us being lost, sir.
Look, I don't think you understand. This is the All-American League.
I mean, we're pretty all-American.
Yeah, we American.
You're born here.
Yeah, and God we trust,
Citizens.
you know. Jesus.
Think you look like them?
Well, actually, I think my form is a tad bit better, but we're from Rockford, Illinois, where we saw you putting one of the teams, the Peaches.
Yeah, funny thing, we don't really grow peaches in Rockford. We mostly just grow corn. Maybe you should call the team the Corn.
Look, we're not going to have colored girls playing with our girls. Going home.
Oh, just give me one shot. 1 minute to throw for you. I promise you gonna want me pitching at every game. I know how to put on a show.
Look, if you don't get out of here now, I'll have you run off.
Okay, Max, let's go.
No,
No, let's just go. Come on.
we're not leaving.
Thank you, sir. Sorry to bother you. Holy, who was that?
This time around, the Black women ball player has a name and dialogue. It is abundantly clear Max is talented enough to at least get a tryout, but Black women were not considered American or woman enough for this opportunity. Max is rightfully and righteously outraged at this slight. They are putting a team in her own backyard and her talent can't overrule white supremacy. This emphasis on racism as a barrier to opportunity is reinforced later when we see Max's bedroom wall. Her shrine to Black baseball includes advertisement for games featuring the Monarchs, the Baltimore Elite Eagles, and the Homestead Grays. Josh Gibson is given featured prominence next to an article about Satchel Paige striking him out. And if I'm not mistaken, the panoramic photo is from the first Colored World Series in 1924 featuring Kansas City versus Hillsdale. The fact that those players were relegated to a separate league is white supremacy made manifest. As the series continues, it becomes clear that Max is very familiar with the going on of Major League Baseball, but her heroes are blackball players. We see this manifest itself when Max imagines herself pitching against Josh Gibson.
Max Chapman has been unhittable today, but her luck might be about to change as in steps Josh Gibson, the home run king. Gibson is once again leading the league in home runs for the Homestead Grays and hitting just about anything thrown his way.
Friday's child, hard luck is her brother.
Woo! A thunderbolt! He's got him blinking like a baby. Boy, oh boy, does this crowd love it. Chapman's got the special sauce and the fire today. It's not every day you see the Black Babe Ruth back on his heels.
Hard times. Friday's child, that's me.
Though rebuffed by the league, Max pursues Plan B, getting a tryout with the local factory team. As was the case throughout World War II, many factories fielded baseball teams as a means to entertain townspeople and foster a sense of camaraderie within the factory. Here we see her try to make the case for why she should be given a tryout with the team.
Mr. Vance, Max Chapman. I'm a pitcher, and you need me.
Oh, is that so?
First, your pitcher, Mr. Fox, his arm isn't what it used to be in the majors. If our pitch practices, he'd have time to rest it. Also, he's developed a tail on his curveball.
Yeah, I do not have a tell. Who is this?
Mr. Fox, you puff your cheeks every time you're gonna throw a curve.
Hey, now, who the hell is this bitch thinks she... Pack it up for today?
Oh, I'm not his girl.
Gary, don't cry. I'll be your baby.
Well, you're right about Fox.
I know. I can throw a curve that looks like a marble over the plate. And I can do it without sending a telegram first.
You know, a lot of these boys are going to the majors and the Negro Leagues, and the rest came from
all about your team. I've been coming to these games since I was a little girl.
I'm sorry, kid. Everybody on the team has to have a job at the factory.
Respectfully, sir, I'm not leaving till you see me pitch.
You'll be sleeping here then.
So any job at the factory?
This is one of the few instances where Max is not turned down based on her identity. She just needs a job at the factory. Unfortunately, a pair of Karens, to use a modern term, refused to even give her a job application. Max correctly points out that President Roosevelt's Executive Order 8802 banned racial discrimination in the defense industry, which makes their rejection illegal, but the Karens were not moved. Undeterred, Max misrepresents her experience with physical labor and lands a job. Having fulfilled the coach's requirements, Max goes back and, of course, is rejected because she's a woman. This is an integrated factory on a racially integrated team, so while she isn't allowed to play for the league because she's Black, she isn't allowed to play for the factory team because she's a woman. Max goes so far as to put money on the line to get a tryout, but unfortunately, she develops a case of the yips, which drains the love of the game out of her entirely. Thankfully, Max's story does not end on that note, as she meets and has a one-night stand with Esther, who turns out to be a pitcher for a Black barnstorming team. After being repulsed by the announcer's introduction, which asks, which is more important, Esther's curves or her curveball, Max gives Esther the scouting report on the company team. Max laments that she's never had a team, never had a shot, at least not a real one. But Esther knows a true baseball player when she sees one. Partway through the game, Esther fakes an injury and tells the manager that Max should sub for her.
Doll face.
Does she know the drill?
I'll make sure of it.
Make it good, kid. I'll throw an extra 5 your way.
Yes, sir. Team rules are pitch to hit. But like you said, you ain't never been on a team before. Take your shot, Max.
Maxine is taking the field. They seem to be swapping ladies.
Yeah, Red Herring!
Chew your food, Maxine. We wouldn't want you to choke again, would we?
Shut up. Let's play ball.
Are you ready this time?
The All-Stars have been beat 5 years in a row. Is this a chance to start a new winning streak of their own?
You said you wanted a show.
It all comes down to this. 2 outs and 2 strikes on Belly. Chapman has the chance to end the game and give the All-Stars a win for the first time in 5 years. She did it! Maxine Chapman throws the almost perfect hit to make the All-Stars come back.
Even though the managers had an understanding that the factory team would win the game, Max absolutely owns that factory team that originally rejected her, and the barnstorming team manager offers her a spot on their team's roster. A League of Their Own provides some valuable context for fans of women in baseball and Black women in baseball. Amazon originally renewed the series for a second yet shorter season, which would have allowed the writers to wrap up loose ends. Unfortunately, Amazon later reversed that decision and canceled the series outright. Amazon blamed the writer's strike for the cancellation. However, the writers struck back saying that scripts were completed prior to the strike, so one wonders what happened behind the scenes. It is possible that the focus on Black and queer characters proved to be a step too far for Amazon, who was also getting heat for their J.R.R. Tolkien's inspired series, The Ring of Power, which dared to cast Black actors as elves and dwarves. In both cases, internet trolls bombarded websites with negative reviews before the series even premiered. This behavior has increased in recent years to the point where there's a term for it, review bombing, and usually targets films and television series that focus on women, people of color, and LGBTQ characters. One review of A League of Their Own said, quote, "It's historically inaccurate and focused more on racism and homosexuality than the story of a women's baseball team," unquote. And another wrote, quote, "For no good reason at all, other than to appease the PC woke mob, they added some Black roles where all they do is face racism. This is PC woke garbage. I couldn't make it through the second episode. I fully expect a trans character to show up by the end of the season," unquote. And actually a trans character does show up before the end of the season. So they got that part right. As I stated earlier, Max doesn't just face racism, she faces sexism as well. Upon seeing the negative reviews, fans rallied to overwhelm sites with more accurate and supportive reviews. Currently, A League of Their Own has a 95% fresh critics rating and an 87% average audience score. But since Amazon paid $250 million for the rights to the Tolkien property, if one series had to go, it was obvious that A League of Their Own was going to draw the short straw. So what does the series get right? Despite the review bombing, A League of Their Own actually gets a lot right where race is concerned. It points out the segregation of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. It highlights the integrated factory teams and points out that Black barnstorming teams and Negro League teams were arguably the most integrated professional sports teams on the planet, enlisting people of different racial backgrounds and different genders. The series shines a light on MLB's segregation, though that was not the primary focus of the series. However, through Max's love of the game, the audience catches a glimpse of Black ball players that MLB left behind. And lastly, A League of Their Own makes an outsized contribution to representation of Black baseball on television, and most importantly shows that Black women loved and played baseball, a fact which is often overlooked. Thank you.
I had to unmute myself there. So, as I said, I had the opportunity to see Lisa's presentation for the first time in the Grandstand Theater in Cooperstown. And having watched both Pitch and A League of Their Own, it was very interesting to see different perspectives. I don't want to sound like I'm diminishing issues here, the issue of Black baseball by any stretch, but when I watched the shows, it was about women in baseball, and you know, there was obviously the Black baseball story was a strong one, but I was like, oh yay, they're talking about women in baseball because there are women who love baseball. But to say that the Black baseball issues were secondary, not so much. It's just it depended on which hat I was wearing at the, like, was I wearing my Black baseball history hat, or was I wearing my I'm a woman who loves baseball and I can relate to this hat? Because I'm not going to pretend to be able to relate to being Black, because hello. So I love the alternate perspective here, the very important historic alternate perspective that this brought. And now I'm going to zip it and let Ken talk.
There. Hi, I really enjoyed that. I love that series, watched the whole thing intently, and disappointed that it got canceled. Kind of brings back, I have put together a trolley tour of the spring training sites down here in St. Petersburg, and one of them is the only park that was available to African Americans back in the day. And in 1976, the old stadium was being torn down, a new one put up. And so the Cardinals and the Mets played their home games there. But going back in all that history, and I'm working on trying to pull stuff out on the housing situation. There were 1931 here, the city charter was amended and put segregation into the charter. In 1932 and 33, and I don't have a lot of information, but there was an African-American women's league here in St. Pete. There was at least 3 teams in 32 and probably 2 in 33. And I think they put an all-star team together when they played Tampa and Bradenton. So try to dig into that, but there's not many people left from that era, and we don't have much newspaper coverage of the African-American community. So pretty tough, but yeah, it kind of resonates, that whole thing. Thank you very much.
And if any of you have checked out James Brunson's multi-volume set looking at Black baseball in the late 19th century, he found Black women teams like everywhere. Like, and I mean, he found Black teams everywhere, even in places you would not necessarily expect Black teams to be. Like, there were Black teams in Utah. Not a big Black population in Utah. But he also found Black women who were playing the game that early. And so this idea, and I get this a lot when I say, oh yeah, I started my career, studying baseball, and I get that look where they're like, but Black women don't like baseball. And it's like, yeah, that's historically inaccurate. So
yeah, when I was doing my research for women in baseball for the Youth Museum, and I came across the entire teams of Black women, I was like, no way. I was like, that's so cool. I mean, trailblazers on so many levels.
And that's why I was surprised initially that A League of Their Own was going to have a storyline about a Black woman playing. And you're correct. She's one of the main characters. It's kind of a split narrative, but the focus is the All-American Girls League, so that gets the lion's share of the narrative. But they still delve into Max's story and her love of baseball and this frustration at just being turned down at every corner for reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with her ability, and her trying to navigate that, and then partway through just giving up and saying, I am done with this game. It's clear that there's not a space for me here, but also finding another Black woman who will not let her do that and saying, I'm going to give you this shot. And she does make the most of it and is able to reclaim her love of the game and showcase her talent.
Yeah, is A League of Their Own still up on Amazon Prime, or did they pull it down?
They haven't pulled it down. But if you have means, you might want to get copies.
Yeah.
I will not explain how.
Yep.
But yes, just in case. It's not just A League of Their Own. Streaming services are just pulling things.
Right, of course.
Physical media is your friend.
Is anybody here familiar with the other TV series that Lisa talked about, Pitch? Did anybody watch that? What year was that, Lisa?
So it was, and you would think I remember this because I wrote a whole journal article about it. It was on NBC. It ran for one season and was unceremoniously canceled. They filmed it in Seattle. They filmed it in the Mariners ballpark, if memory serves. But the producer of that show went on to do This Is Us. So whenever This Is Us started,
okay,
the season before that.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I would say that's definitely a worthwhile watch for anybody who hasn't seen it. Just as a baseball story, generally speaking, but definitely as almost, I hate to say it, but futuristic, or maybe not so much in the future, right? Because you think about when that was made, and let's just say that it was
2016. I went back to my first page. So
I was gonna say 8 years ago. So okay, so almost 10 years ago. You didn't have Kelsey Whitmore making the news. I mean, there were women who had tried to, but they weren't. And not even that the Kelsey Whitmore story is mainstream now, but it's certainly more mainstream than anything was 10 years ago. And you looked at that and it was like, oh, well, I wonder how far in the future that is. And now you've got, I can't remember her first name, Sato, who's now pitching in the Canadian League. She made her debut the other day, and it's close. And it's very cool.
We're hoping that we'll also see a woman umpire, because every other professional league in the United States has had women who were, zebras, for lack of a better phrase. But baseball is just all special and doesn't want to do it yet.
And we thought maybe last year, right? It was this close. So now we wonder when it might be. John points out, yes, there will be a women's professional baseball league. Absolutely. Interestingly, my recollection of recent news is they were conducting tryouts, but they still have not announced where the teams are going to be. Interesting. The other show, the one from 2016, Pitch. So I maybe on Peacock.
It should be.
It should be on Peacock. Yeah. So Pitch. I'm going through the comments here. Yep. So yeah. I certainly could spend substantially more time talking about women's baseball history and Black baseball history. And I know, Lisa, I know you feel the same way. But I think people are also itching to hop over to that Diamond Discourse conversation. I think Lisa and I included in that a bit. Oh, the WPBL is looking for investors. Interesting. Interesting. I have to read up on that a little. So unless anybody else has anything that they would like to share about Black baseball history, women in baseball, I mean, Lisa is, and I don't want to say I sold her short in her bio, but you're just like pop culture in general is your wheelhouse.
Yes,
and
currently working on a book on Star Trek. So, which was mentioned because one of in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, baseball was a huge story arc in that series, and so it should be fun to revisit that.
It's I think it's cool when two things that you love unexpectedly intermingle.
Yes.
Yeah, it's in the collectibles where like, oh, you justify, oh, that's a cross collectible, oh, I have to have that because it's Donald Duck playing outfield for, you know, the nameless team. Like, oh yeah, we have to have that. So yeah, it's, and when, from a research standpoint, it's got to be so easy to go down one of those rabbit holes because it must pull at you from so many different directions.
Yeah, and particularly with this new project, I mean, Star Trek will be celebrating its 60th anniversary next year.
It's crazy.
And so it is just, and I'm on the editorial board of Wayne State University Press, and some author had used the phrase warp speed. And someone had mentioned, oh, you know, this is a book about the past, you know, we shouldn't be using these current terms. And I'm like, yeah, that term's now over 50 years old.
Yeah, right.
And they were like, oh gosh, you're right.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's kind of like Pete Rose. It's like, it's one of those things that even if you know absolutely nothing about Star Trek, you know what warp speed means.
Right, right.
So,
yes, exactly.
Ludicrous speed as well, if you know Spaceballs.
And so, yeah, yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
It also has a Star Trek connection, but that's a whole nother.
Yeah, that's another one. Is like, I gotta go back and rewatch that. It's just add it to the list.
May the Schwartz be with you.
Okay. Who was a main character on Star Trek Voyager is the character with the pick in the desert, which is one of the funniest scenes in the movie, and I will not quote it because there's profanity, but trust me, it's hilarious. And if you've seen the movie, you know what happens with the pick in the desert.